Now I shall hand it over to the belle of the ball, Vikram Dewan. Vikram?
Thank you for that lovely and regal introduction, Mike. Now that you have had a general overview of the conference and what Model UN is, let me tell you more about the role you will actually play in committee. By now, you should hopefully know what committee and what country or who you will be representing at the conference in the next few weeks. If you don't, then you're definitely screwed. No, I'm just kidding. Not really. There are two types of committees in which you may be: a General Assembly, ECOSOC, Specialized, or UN Security Council Committee, or in a Crisis Committee. I'll give a brief overview of these that will hopefully make you more comfortable taking on either role. The following overview is important to all delegates, so please be sure to pay extra close attention. Before you arrive for the conference, you should first get in touch with your head delegate or sponsor and find out which committee you have been assigned to. I then direct you to the UPMUNC website, www.upmunc.org, which is by far the sexiest website on the World Wide Web. Once at the website, go to the Committees tab. Upon clicking General Assembly or ECOSOC, you will see a list of committees, and on the right, click on your respective committee to find out background guides which will outline and provide key information regarding topics you will discuss during UPMUNC. This should guide you in your research and tell you clearly what you need to investigate further. Now, what do you need to do before the conference? First, get intensely pumped for the conference. Then, you need to write a position paper which outlines your country's stance on the given issues and then suggest your own policy initiatives. I urge you to use UPMUNC website to your fullest advantage. In addition to providing you with the aforementioned background guides, it will allow you to understand how you fit into the conference as a whole. The site has a plethora of wonderful information that will prepare you for your committee, Model UN, and UPMUNC as a whole, no matter what your skill level is coming in. Continue researching in the days leading up to the conference and keep track of any interesting information that you think could be fruitful during the debate. For example, is your chair single? On a scale of 1 to 10, how muscular are Vikram's pecs? Can Mike really make a woman's clothes fly off with a wink of his eye? Oh yes, that's right, ladies. Get excited. But more importantly, compile a folder with all of your research and be prepared for this first session of committee come November 11th. Once you are in session, your objective is to work with other countries sharing common views and policy initiatives to write a working paper that outlines a course of action for the committee. If you're in a General Assembly, ECOSOC, Specialized, or Security Council Committee, listen up. What do you do during debate? You must persuade other countries to sign on to your plan of action, and when it comes to writing the papers, you must literally get signatories to support your document. Your final goal is to get the working paper passed into an official resolution, which means your policy will be the official action of the entire committee. To achieve this, you give speeches throughout the conference proclaiming your views and policy suggestions and collaborate with your fellow delegates, making friends or enemies along the way. Better yet, you may even meet that special delegate to ask to the Delegate Fest. You will utilize note passing to the committee to communicate with your co-sponsors regarding a resolution, or have people give up their place on the speakers list so you can ensure that you are having your voice heard during conference. Note passing allows you to communicate with other members of the committee without interrupting the flow of debate. The only other time you're allowed to converse with delegates on a one-on-one basis is during unmoderated caucus, which are times when parliamentary procedure is suspended to allow informal debate and conversation. Now, while notes and unmoderated caucuses are meant for informal communication, we must ask you to refrain from drawing those bomb pickup lines on the delegate that be looking so fine. Trust me, you don't want to be that guy. Now, let's talk about resolutions. All resolutions begin as working papers, which are the first piece of documentation where delegates collectively write down their ideas. A resolution stays as a working paper until it has the necessary amount of signatures, is formatted correctly, receives the chair's approval, and is presented before the committee. Upon presentation of the working paper, the committee then debates it, and the sponsors make changes as they deem necessary. There are two main parts to resolution. First are the preambulatory clauses. These are statements that reiterate history pertaining to the issue of the working paper and are usually not discussed during debate. Following these are the operative clauses, which suggest methods to help mollify and/or solve the issue at hand. Upon further discussion, the committee may make amendments as they are deemed necessary. There are two types of amendments, which change a resolution by adding, striking out, or substituting a word or phrase in a resolution. A friendly amendment is an amendment agreed upon by all sponsors of the resolution. An unfriendly amendment is an amendment that is not supported by all of the sponsors. An unfriendly amendment requires signatures from 1/5 of the body to be considered. It requires a 2/3 vote to pass. After working papers are presented as resolutions and all amendments are submitted, they are all voted upon together. Upon entering voting procedure, the chamber shall be sealed and silent. No person may enter or leave, with exception of secretariat members. Resolutions require a simple majority vote to pass. In summary, it is important to be very well prepared for your committee before you arrive at UPMUNC. As a whole, the body will decide which topic you will debate first. During your discussion of the topic, you will collaborate with your peers to create working papers that will hopefully be passed into resolutions. After you have voted on a resolution, you will move on to the next topic and then debate that for the remainder of the time at the conference. If all goes well, you will pass at least 2 resolutions regarding to both topics and successfully reach a reasonable course of action. If you in the crisis committee, listen up! Now we will move on to crisis committees. Just as the background guides for the GAs and ECOSOC committees are available online, one can also find the crisis committee guides on the same website. The main difference between being in a GA committee and being in a crisis committee is that you usually are representing an individual rather than an entire nation. You must still write a position paper before arriving, but it may be in a less traditional format. You espouse your own views and not those of the nation as a whole during policy making and try to advance your own perspective through passing directives. Crisis committees also have the aspect of crises. I know, big surprise! A crisis staff will periodically interrupt your committee with a crisis event related to what is being discussed, whether it be a swine flu breakout in the White House or a bombing in the remote hills of Tajikistan. It is your responsibility to factor in the crisis into your own policy. You will still be debating what courses of action you should take and be forced to work with your other crisis committee members. Crisis committees tend to be your less traditional model UN experiences, as evidenced by our West Wing committee this year, which unfortunately is not featured at the annual UN Summit in New York. Crisis committees, again, have a less structured flow because of their nature, but a few things are important to note. Upon arriving, you will again choose which aspect of the crisis you want to address first and begin to debate upon it, using your own position papers as the initial sources of discussion. Debate will flow from this start and then integrate the events of the first crisis when it occurs. Delegates, instead of writing working papers and resolutions, will write directives. There is no set parliamentary procedure for a crisis committee, and instead it is up to the discretion of the chair of how committee will be run. Directives are exclusively used in crisis and specialized committees, but are similar to resolutions in that they convey the decisions and courses of action suggested by the committee. In order to carry out any action during committee, a directive must be sent by an individual, a group of individuals, or the committee as a whole. To pass a directive on behalf of the whole committee, a simple majority vote is required. There are 3 types of directives: action orders, communiques, and press releases. Action orders are used to direct troops, agencies, individuals, etc. to take action that is within the authority of the committee. A communique is used to communicate with foreign governments, the other committees if it is a JCC, or individuals outside the committee. Finally, a press release is used to reveal information to the public. At the conference, we will conduct a more detailed explanation of parliamentary procedure, which is a formal structure of how committee actually flows. It is something that one learns with practice, and though it may seem intimidating at first, you will catch on quite soon, and if you find yourself lost, attend one of the Model UN 101 sessions during UPMUNC that Mike and I will be instructing. That's right, you better be there if you want to get buck wild.
And fan the UPMUNC 2010 group on Facebook, if you haven't done so already.
Also, for any questions or concerns about the conference or relationship issues, don't hesitate to send us an email.